is it a webinar on it? But it's for 3D PDFs for civil.
Oh, yes. So with Bluebeam CAD or Extreme, you have the ability to create 3D PDFs pretty easily through Revit. But we don't get that function in Civil 3D or any other civil-based program. So there will be a tech talk, I believe a tech talk coming out in the next couple of months where I'm going to walk through taking our Civil 3D model that's been brought into InfraWorks, and then we're going to take that from InfraWorks into Navisworks, and Navisworks is going to give us that functionality to create that 3D PDF. So then I could have my civil site plan and all my infrastructure around it in a 3D PDF inside of Revu. So we'll go through that. And once that comes out, we'll send links and stuff. But I'm looking at another question saying that the camera doesn't appear to be able to turn on from the Zoom setting. So that could be on our side.
Allowed to talk now, David. You should be having the setting now. So if you want to raise your hand, if you want to be able to present yourself. David, you can now try to.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but we can't see you.
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was an option to share your video available that I can see.
Is there the option now?
I do not see it, no.
Has to unmute. Oh, I remuted you. Oh, muted you again because you unmuted yourself. Technical difficulties on the video side.
We will never claim to be Zoom professionals. Oh, then added David as a panelist. That's weird.
Maybe that's what we needed to do. There we go. There's David.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you, David.
Nice to be met.
Yes, officially.
Raise my cup.
There we go. Cheers and some coffee. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about before we open this up, welcome to our Morning Coffee Revu if you haven't been to one of these before. This is a very open session. If you have any questions, just fire away and we'll go through whatever you have. So use the Q&A function inside of Zoom and we'll go through some questions. And to start, I want to start talking about something that Michael and I were discussing earlier this week. And it sort of builds off what we were just talking about, and that's 3D PDFs. Why would I want to use one? What are they? What can they do? What can't they do? And things like that. And this is where I'll flip it back to you, Michael, with you being a Revit user. What are some of the big benefits of using a 3D PDF in lieu of sending somebody your Revit model?
So in terms from our end, the great aspect of having a 3D PDF would be able to send a conceptual model, essentially, versus sending it out as a .rvt, right, where people can grab content, any families that you have in there, any drafting views that you use, any notes, any of that information. Maybe you just want to provide them with a model. You can use this same kind of standard just with a 3D PDF, right? You don't have to worry about removing any of your proprietary content that you've spent a lot of time with, because we all have had that one instance where you go through and you notice on someone else's set, there's my door, or there's my cabinet, or there's my custom drafting view that had the specific detail that I've used over and over again. So 3D PDF is a great way to send them a conceptual kind of model and portable document format, right? Allowing them to basically do the same thing as a Revit model, essentially. But what about from your end, Jason?
I like using them because I don't like getting into Revit. I always feel like I'm going to break something. So I love how connected that Revit is, and but it's very foreign to me. I can get around. I can be dangerous in there, and that's what I'm always worried about. I don't want to break somebody's sheet views or any of those other things. So I like the 3D PDF so I can get around here. I can cut sections. I can do what I need to do to view it, as well as I can make comments, but that's where my question to you comes in. Can I measure these walls in a section view?
Can you measure in a 3D PDF? You can.
I can measure in a 3D PDF, huh? What he says. Let's see. Can I measure?
You can also mark up too. But the question is, from measuring, I'm wondering if you can apply the scale to it, right? So that would be the question. So it would have to be more of a section, right? And you would have to know what the scale was of that particular item. So I don't know what the scale was set for that one. Do you?
Let's just call it a scale. See what happens. Yeah, it doesn't let me measure.
What if you do it from a section view of just the item? Yeah. So let's see. No, I meant like a foreground view, but
Like that.
yes. There you go. Yeah.
So if I wanted to measure this wall here, can I do it?
I know you can comment.
I know I can comment. That works fine. But my measuring tools don't seem to work.
Let me use a quick little Google search.
But I can leave a comment.
David also said that it is a smaller file size. That is true also. And be aware that you can use studio projects if you do have a Revit model to share it with, outside consultants quickly with a link. So file size isn't as impactful either in that manner. So versus trying to email something, you can just simply upload it to a studio project and just share it. As we go through here, let's see. All right, have a good one, David. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, you'll be back. Great. We have no questions coming through on the Q&A side.
Yes, we do.
Right,
So
right as I spoke.
if we have a tool or a profile, and I would like everyone to have access, and I can make modifications and it will automatically update if I change to a tool. How can this be done on a network? That is a very good question. So what we're talking about here is using our tool sets and having a custom configuration for a certain company or workflow. And how do you customize that? And how do you do that on the network? So part of that is a two-part sort of question. Do you just want to do your tool sets, or do you want to do your whole profile? Because the profile aspect is easier. Is that correct? Is that safe to assume, I should say?
And Chris, I can unmute you if you'd like.
There you go. So he's talking about doing the whole profile, okay? So our profiles are managed in the review application menu. So top left corner, go to profiles. Here's where we can manage our profiles. And those profiles, when we go to manage, we have that location. By default, they're going to be on the C drive, and we can put those on the server. So if I wanted to import a profile that was on the server, not that we have a server here at ATG, and that caveat being, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Michael, this means everybody has access to modify that profile. Is that true?
So if you're storing it, sorry, my Zoom cut out. Yes, if you're storing it on the server, everyone will have access to modifying it if they hit save, correct? So if you made changes to the profile and that person or somebody else made changes and they went up to review and hit save, it would overwrite it. So you could file lock it in Windows.
So you take your profile, which is your BPX file, and then you just do a right click, make it read only. That would still let people go in and access the tool sets from it, but not, save it or change any of the properties. Excellent question. Anything else? Let's see if I go to the Q&A. So we've answered that one live.
Answer that live. Yep. You just
So yeah, if you have any questions, type them into the Q&A box inside of Zoom, and we'll make sure that we get them all going.
Ryan, can you?
Oh, I'll let you take this one, buddy. The question is, can you speak to the integration of Bluebeam sessions with BIM 360 from Autodesk?
We don't have an answer for that at this time. Ryan, we can take it off air and I can shoot you an email about the integration with Bluebeam sessions and BIM 360. Does that sound good, Brian? Unfortunately, I can't answer that. We don't have an answer to that yet. Yep. Thank you.
There are solutions that exist, but it's not cut and dry because remember, these are somewhat competing software.
You're welcome, Brian.
Thanks for the question.
There are live integrations though for Procore, and I can speak to what you would do with Procore, right? So Studio Prime allows for integration. Procore, you have your documents stored in Procore. You could essentially have your PDFs start a session. Then you would have the session. You'd mark it up, and then once you close out the session, it would upload the new updated sets to your Procore environment. And Jason just brought open Studio Prime. Another great thing about Studio Prime, it is an additional subscription. You can automate the way your studio projects look by automatizations.
You got that?
I don't know. Do you got that, Jason? Because I know. But yeah, so if you click on that right there, Jason, for me, you can go through and if you've already created a project with a ton of folders and the way it's gone, go and hit create new. You can select that project that has that information. So you can go to file share or something, because I know that one's, yeah. So that would be then the folders, and you have the folder path. You can go through and include the subfolders that you've already created. And then next time you go and create one, you can automatically have that folder file structure. That's another thing that you could do. The other thing about Studio Prime is you can get analytics behind what's happening in your studio projects and your sessions. So if you don't have any of this, I believe you need a folder name too. Yeah. Okay.
Folder. Sure.
Yep.
Now I can save it, and now I'll have this automation available to me on my, or I could even enable certain types of workflow depending on what type of file I'm uploading. But I got all sorts of cool stuff here, and then now we'll see this file share structure. There we go.
Yep.
But the analytics is what you're talking about, is right here.
Yeah, the analytics. So you can get insights on specific users or sessions and projects going through. You can go to Morning Coffee Revu. You can even transfer ownership here. So let's say I didn't want to be the owner anymore. We could transfer it to Jason Artley just by going and transferring ownership. Not trying to be tricky. I think it is enabled. Yes, it. We'll talk, Brian. We'll talk off air about BIM 360 and studio sessions.
Now with this
and Tom, okay.
Prime,
Tom,
is there an option to erase files from here, or do I have to be a part of the live Bluebeam session?
Erase files from here. I don't.
Or download the files. I can only see them. I can't do anything with them. That's correct.
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't know the answer to that. I know you can delete the session, right?
Yes. Where is the data stored for Prime? That's a good question. Thanks for that, Tom. This is all stored up on their little magic cloud.
Yeah.
How's that for a technical answer?
Yeah. I know for studio sessions and projects, it's an AWS server, I believe. I don't know about Studio Prime though.
I would imagine it would fall under that same AWS server.
Yeah. I would be interested in the Bluebeam integration as well.
We might as well just talk about it.
Um,
We do have a few more minutes of being live, or we can save that for when we're not live. Because there isn't really a cut and dry answer to it.
Yeah.
We'll give you that warning so far.
We don't have all the information, and also we don't have what. That's something I don't think we can answer right now, Jason.
Okay. Cost for storage in subscription. Oh, some good questions going in here. So what is the cost for storage in subscription? Now, are you talking about Bluebeam Studio projects and sessions? Because that is included with the software. There isn't any sort of, there's not a file limit with Studio projects. There is a limit with sessions, but it's ridiculously high, and you probably won't ever hit it. Probably, being in air quotes. So there isn't an additional cost for that. The Prime stuff that we talked about, this is an additional add-on in subscription cost, depending on how many licenses you have. But this isn't actually adding additional storage to your files.
Yes, and if you want to grab information from specific people, you have to add them under users. It doesn't just pull from your licenses that you have, right? So if you want to start seeing data from specific users, you have to add them by their Bluebeam ID in the users area.
Correct. Another question, where does Bluebeam store temporary files in case it crashes on me? So that's a fine question. I don't really honestly have Bluebeam crash on me that often, so I never really mess with the temporary files as I would with other software.
Where you mean crash? It would be where the file would store natively. And usually if it does crash or close when you're open something and you reopen it, it'll actually ask you to revisit that PDF before. So like if you were to edit a document right now, Jason, and you didn't save, you just hit escape, it would, I don't know if yours is gonna automatically do it. Mine usually does.
Will it save?
Yeah. So if you just make a markup or something. And then,
so if I just close this.
No, close everything. Close review as a whole. Yeah. Just hit don't save. It should prompt you, because I just did this earlier too for me. From Adam on YouTube, any mobile options for Bluebeam? I used to use Bluebeam Batch in a formal life. Mobile options for like an iPad. Did yours not prompt, Jason?
It did not do anything. So it didn't ask me to open up anything from my last session. Maybe if I would have done a 3-finger salute and closed Bluebeam through the task manager instead of actually closing this, it would prompt me to say, "Hey, would you like to open up your files from your last session?"
Let me look.
Yeah, we'll look into that one. So going to Adam's question on YouTube, the mobile options, that can be answered a couple different ways. There is a Bluebeam function or a Bluebeam version that you can download for an iPad. And if you have an iPad, it's like $10 on the Apple Store, and it works pretty good. It still gives you access to your Bluebeam Studio. A lot of folks are using that for punch listing and more field type work. Your other mobile option would be drawings, using Bluebeam Drawings, where anywhere you have an internet connection or a browser, you can access some of your files that way as well. Have you talked about Bluebeam Drawings here on Morning Coffee Revu? I don't think we have.
We haven't. So again, Bluebeam's the company, Revu's one of the softwares, and Drawings is another software. Will, I just sent you the link, well, not the link, the file extension to your cached PDFs.
So inside of drawings.bluebeam.com, this is part of maintenance. So one of your options for licensing Bluebeam Revu is to add maintenance to your software. So you can have maintenance, and the cost varies depending on if you're in standard, CAD, or extreme. But in addition to all those updates and new versions and access like that, you also get access to Bluebeam drawings, which is going to give you the ability to publish sheets and settings here. So anywhere you have that that internet connection, you can actually go and view some of those sheets.
And drawings, I've used it on my phone and my iPad. It is extremely quick when looking at PDFs. All of your links work, and you can check version history. So you can have multiple versions of new ones that have been uploaded for your items. And you're right, Chris, it isn't for marking up. Just like on my iPad, I would be marking up from my iPad using the actual app, right? So in a session, I could collaborate with someone out in the field on my iPad. And I can show you that right now in a second when Jason's done showing drawings on how it would look from that point of view.
Yeah, I can stop my share if you're ready to share yours.
Okay.
Ready?
So, yep,
Go.
I'm ready.
There you go.
Maybe I wasn't as ready as I thought.
I'll get
there we go.
caught up in my coffee.
Okay, so I'm going to open up my iPad here. I have my iPad right here. We have Joe Demo, who is out in the field working tirelessly. You know, he's had a great day going on. I messaged him yesterday and said, "Hey, Joe, how are you doing?" He said, "Leave me alone." Joe's all mine now. Again, Joe's my iPad right here. Let's see what Joe's going to be doing. Let me exit out of this one. Let me open up a plan set. And again, in a session, you can see what plan set they're working on. So you can see, hey, there's Joe. He's right here. Let me follow the attendee. So as I'm scrolling in and out on my iPad here, I'm going to be following Joe as he's out in the field, right? This is if he has internet connection. Hopefully out in the field, they have great internet connection. If they don't, it's still going to bucket their markups in pending. But then Joe's going to go through and find an area that doesn't have a markup in here. He's going to, I obviously do a lot of demos, but I'm going to go to here and we're going to say cheese, right, Jason? So 1, 2, 3, cheese. He's going to take a photo right from his iPad with terrible photo quality on this iPad. Hopefully you have an iPad Pro, but here we go. And let me use it. And just like that, he's out in the field, took a photo, already saved it to the markup for any field issues that were happening there as well. So again, this is just live from my iPad. We can chat too. How are you doing today, Joe? Right? And then Joe's over here as well. He's going to go on his iPad. He's going to be able to chat. Okay, that's it.
Not very talkative today, Joe, huh?
Joe's having a rough one out in the field. I think he forgot his coffee.
That's probably the problem. Sure. Good question here from Adam. Do mobile apps allow password protection? So that could be go a couple ways. We do have the attendee access restrictions that we can put on the studio session. So just like Michael and Joe are demonstrating now, where they're a part of a studio session, that those restrictions can be in place to allow a level of security to keep other folks from getting in there. But as actual password, I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, what do you mean password? I mean, it's if your mobile device has a password, right?
You still need a password to get into session. So there's one level of protection there. Plus, you have the ability to restrict attendees by email address. So there is protection, but it's not necessarily a password per se. Another question, is training available for field workforces? Absolutely.
Yep.
At the end of our session here today, we're going to be putting up some slides that will give you some email addresses and some contact information if you'd like to know more about ACG's training offerings.
Yep, and that would be on most field people I see are using either an iPad or Surface Pro. The user interface is different for the iPad. Surface Pro is operating on Windows, of course, versus iOS, which is iPad. So it's kind of pick your poison. Jason, are you an Apple user?
I am a former Apple user. I am happy to
Okay.
say that I have purged all Apple from my life, but I have a Surface Pro that I use. I actually just kind of retired it to demo purposes. I don't like it as a daily couch laptop anymore, but I have a Surface Pro. It runs Bluebeam really, really well, just because it's a Windows-based thing. Okay. Going back to Adam's question, PDF password implementation. Oh, so not just a PDF, just a file protection.
Oh, okay. So yes, you can. So if you wanted to lock a PDF, right? So, wow, this profile is different. I'm like, where's all my stuff?
Right? Profiles are
Uh,
fantastic.
yeah, so go into document here. You can go to security, or for all of us that love hotkeys, Control L. And you have the ability to apply a lock to this specific PDF by changing the permissions here, and you can see all the items that you can go through and lock. Once you go to here, you can have a preset one, meaning you saved settings from prior. So does it require password to open the document? If so, okay, what's the password? Does it require password to print, copy, and edit the documents? So that's if something does change here. Do we have the ability to change it? And if we do, who is the only one that knows it, right? Would be the person with the password. And that's the ability that you're allowed to go through and do here, allowing printing, high resolution or low resolution, allow changes, what changes can they make if they go through and make any changes, allowing copying text and graphics. And when you open up a locked document, you'll see a lock next to it, meaning you can't make any changes to it unless, of course, you know the password. And all of your markups that are locked specific to whatever is in here setting-wise will be grayed out in that PDF.
And then can that password protected PDF file then be loaded into a session for use with a mobile to try to tie everything back together? I would imagine it would work just fine.
Yeah, it's iOS document format, so still, yeah.
Good question. Thanks for that, Adam from YouTube.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Maybe you can also, after, because I know they're gonna cut off streaming here in a second, in a couple of minutes, and we'll let you know when. But feel free to hop in from live session and come and join us over here in the Zoom chat as well.
Yep. And I believe right at the top of the hour is when we're going to cut off the live stream. So might as well just get ready for that.
Oh,
now.
yes, I am the one controlling the screen. I apologize. Do you have the thing open already? I guess I'll just do it. I wish we knew the hotkey for presentation.
I don't think that there is one, but this is something I'd like to figure out too.
So this is for everyone on the live stream. We'll be cutting it off here shortly.
So come back and join us in the Zoom chat. It's still going to be going on for another half hour or so. If you're jumping off the live stream, I would love to see you again on Thursday. I'll be doing a webinar with Bluebeam Party Tricks. So we're going to be going over some of those things that are a little lesser known, small little tips and tricks here and there. I'm not going to say if we're going to do 20 or 40 or 10. We're just going to see what happens, and we're going to show off some tricks. So I hope to see you there on Thursday. You can register at our events page at atgusa.com.
Yes. And also for everyone that's live, we do this every Tuesday at 8:30 CST. For all of us that reside over here on Pacific time now, it's 6:30. It's a little early, but hey, rise and grind, right?
That's why we got our coffee. See, the matching coffee mugs was a thing. I can't promise we'll do this every day. So this is a special thing just for you guys today.
It is.
So we still have some more questions.